Deel just celebrated their 5th birthday, and they've crossed $500 million in revenue. That makes them the fastest growing company I've ever backed and one of the fastest growing companies in the history of fintech. To celebrate their birthday, I've got a special treat for you guys. I had Shua Wong, one of the co-founders of Deel, present to the Cambrian community in downtown San Francisco almost 5 years ago, back when the company was very young. This was actually several months before we ended up leading the Series A at A16Z. Today, when you hear about companies like Deel, I think an interesting question is, sure, they're a great company now, but was it obvious at the time that what they were doing was really interesting? So you can watch, be the judge of that yourself. I think what you'll find is there's a lot from that presentation that has stayed true even today, 5 years later.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shua. I'm from Deel. And what we do at Deel is we're building a system for you to support payments and compliance for your remote teams. So me and Alex, we founded the startup together, and we're from the YCW19 batch. And before Deel, we had our own companies before. I was in Beijing for 3 years, and then Alex was in Tel Aviv for 3 years. And before that, we met together at MIT, and we have known each other for a very, very long time. And then while Alex was in Tel Aviv, he thought he's going to build the next generation of Twitch. And while I was in Beijing, I thought I'm going to build the next generation of PayPal. So that's why we got together, and we decided, okay, let's actually work on something to help people to hire talents across the world. So right now, the future of work is remote hires, okay? And we believe that talents should not be limited by borders. But hiring talents overseas is actually a little bit more complicated than we thought. 66% of the companies allow like remote work, and then 16% of them are operating at a fully distributed team. But in order to handle all of this, you actually need to think about ways to send payments internationally and also collect necessary paperwork, optimize taxes so that you do not lose too much when you send the payments across. So this is why we're building Deel. So we want to support payments and compliance for you so that you can pay your team with confidence. So let's talk about a little bit about the payments that what we do today. So thinking about payments is normally international wire transfer, right? So you will send payments from your bank to another party's bank, and it is always very manual, and it requires a lot of transaction cost, at least like $45, depends on banks, right? And it takes up to 5 days for the banks to process the money. And also the exchange rate is never real time, it's never mid-market. So for example, if you want to, as a client, you want to send money to your contractors in New Zealand, beautiful country, nice people there. You send money from bank A to bank B. But in between, if they do not have established a network in between, they will send SWIFT messages across different bank accounts. So for example, all those banks in between will charge a little bit of the money. So sometimes it could be like 3 to 4%. And then it is very expensive, and then by the time your contractor receives the money from you, it's about 7 days later, and then the exchange rate will never be the same. Just like if you go to a restaurant, you're trying to order dinner, right? But you look at the menu, you have to order in different language, but with no help. No one will help you. And then you have to prove, because you have to submit required payment documents to your banks, you have to prove to the restaurant owner that you're hungry and you need to order food, right? And then after all those, and then they give you the service, and then you check the menu, you see, okay, every dish on the menu, the price is subject to change. Depends on how you order it. The waiter who bring you the dish, you need to pay different amount of tips, right? So after you have gone through the entire process, you finally eat your food, which is late and it is cold. Will you eat that restaurant again? Probably not. If I have a second chance, I will never go back again. So let's talk about the payments at Deel. So we actually work with global financial institutions. And then we have established a good network on top of all the best PSPs out there, right? So we optimize, after we receive the payments from you, we optimize the route, how we send the money. And then we allow pay in and pay out across the world while you are operating at full compliance. So right now, if you use your bank A to send the money to your contractor's bank B, right? So you will just first send a ACH or a direct deposit to Deel's local bank account, and then we will optimize the route, either use PayPal, TransferWise, or Pioneer, where we have our local bank accounts at different countries, right? So, and then we provide transparency, and also we provide faster delivery so that your contractors, your team will receive the payments from Deel within a day or two. That's what we do. So I have mentioned a lot about compliance. And then while sending payments overseas is not as simple as you thought, right? A lot of people are trying to hire talent overseas, and then you constantly need to deal all kinds of laws, contracts, because each country is very different. And then for the folks in Russia, you actually need to send them the exact invoices, matches the exact amount that you send them to, so that they will be able to take the payment out of their bank account, right? So then how do you hire talents remotely? So the first way is that you don't work with anyone. You just send the payments directly. And it is okay if you are just managing a small team, but later on, it is not compliant, and then IRS may audit you in the future, so you may run into trouble, right? So in order to not run into trouble, you're trying to find different agencies like a PEO or employer of record to help you to manage all those problems. But sometimes they're very expensive. So for example, to work with a PEO, it costs about $500 per contractor per month. And then if you use a EOR, it is $1,000 per full-time employee that you onboarded on that. All right. And then also those agencies and then those third-party staffing agencies are managing your teams for you, and then they're sending payments. So you don't have the control, and you cannot fully communicate with your distributed team. So they're technically not your team. Okay, and then a lot of us are hiring talents on Upwork, right? And you think, okay, Upwork will help me to share my risk, and Upwork will handle all of those for me. But if you pay a little bit of attention to their terms and conditions, you will see that, oh no, this is completely not legal, right? So you go ahead, you hire the independent contractors by yourself, right? So the definition of an independent contractor is that they have their own entity, and then they provide service to you directly. But it is a little bit complicated because the contractors depends on their locations and then the countries where they're from. They have different compliance and then local labor laws. And then for each different country, you will need to have different contract templates, right? And then also the rules of each country to allow their citizens to work as contractors very different. So for example, in the US, you will just need to collect a W-9 and give them a 1099. And then in France, you actually, the contractor need to have a license to provide contracting work outside of the country. And then in Serbia or in Ukraine, you actually need to create your own entity or your own company to work as an independent contractor. And then sometimes if you misclassify, the misclassification of contractors can bring you trouble. The IRS or the equivalent of IRS in their own country can sue you because you didn't pay enough taxes or you didn't provide full benefits to their employee, right? So what we do here, we're trying to figure out everything for you. And we're trying to mitigate the risk that you are facing while hiring independent contractors. So for each country that we send payments to, we work with a local legal office, right? So the lawyers from those office will overview and customize the contract template for the contractors so that they're fully compliant. And then we also provide multi-layer compliance. So for example, for each country and then for each contractor, when you onboard them, we'll send them a list of checkup list, and then we will ask them to fulfill all the requirements. So time is running out. So what else? So we integrate everything that you need to hire a contractor, and then we provide automatic invoices. We help you collect the W-8 and then W-9, and then optimize the taxes with the percentage of taxes withholdings for you when you hire ICs. And also, your contractors can file 1099 directly using our platform to IRS within one single click. Right. So that's it. If you want to know more about Deel or myself, send me an email and talk to me. All right. Thank you.
So that's her talk. Again, it's been almost 5 years since she gave it. And I think one of the most remarkable things is that the core mission behind the company to make talent accessible globally has remained the same. Great companies have enduring missions that stand the test of time. And I think they can build for another 5, 10, 15, 20 years working on this same problem. If you enjoyed this presentation, I actually caught up with Shua just a few months ago to hear the latest as to what's happening at Deel and what's next. If you want to check out that interview, we have a link to it in the show notes. But also, if you enjoy listening to interviews from founders and builders in fintech, feel free to hit like or subscribe. We've got a bunch of other great content. Until then, catch you next time.